Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're going to be doing an abridged review of Konosuba Abridged by Lord Daedryth.
I totally hit that. Almost as hard as that truck is about to... Hey, wait a second! She's about to get hit by a truck! So if 1 + 2 equals the square enumeration of a quadratic duck, then we get the circumference of that ass.
What is love?
Before we go any further though, just remember everyone, spoilers. If you don't like spoilers, go watch the original show, then come back. Seriously, I would actually recommend it. It's very good. But just spoilers! Now, there are 3 criteria this show is just really good at. I'm going to go quickly into each one of them and break down what exactly makes this show worth watching, why it's a good abridged series, and why, well, it's worth remembering beyond just the fact that it's funny. Spoiler, here's the first one, humor.
I bet you look damn sexy in that pretty princess getup.
Oh, you better believe it.
I'm looking for love.
No, you're not. You're looking for dick.
Damn right I am.
What am I witness to here?
Witness, you say? But you behold, you bear testament to Manchurian death mating.
The first criteria you have to look at when it comes to this abridged series is its humor. Now, this is the 5,000-pound elephant with a pink moo-moo in the room. Konosuba, the show this is based on, is a comedy. A really good, really funny comedy. It is hilarious. It is a parody of the entire isekai genre, and it is really damn effective at it, yet still at the same time functions as an isekai perfectly well. With anti-heroes, it basically is an abridged in setting because it does everything you need. It hypes up the characters, it goes with crazy situations, it makes insane outcomes the norm, and it's funny as hell.
Hold on! I think my voice modulator is broken.
I am genuinely aroused now. Are you possessed or some shit? The whole getting hit by a tractor thing pales in comparison to the obscure vocal tones being emitted from your feminine frame.
At least I wasn't stupid enough to jump in front of a tractor.
There is a strong argument online that you cannot abridge something that is already funny. It cannot be done because there is no point to it, so you cannot succeed. I would disagree because if I agree with them, I wouldn't have even an abridged review of this. It would literally just be, hey, don't watch that. This is not the case. What this does, though, is set up a premise of, how do we take something that's funny and make it either funnier or different? In this case, they went for a little of both. There are some cases, some jokes they did, which are so blatantly hilarious that the scene they're based on, it's not that funny. It's not quite a parody of it, but it's parody in style by calling out obvious throwbacks to everything. It's more of a vehicle for parody, meta commentary. It's actually something Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged by Lil Karibo has done quite a bit, where they make references through the abridged of Yu-Gi-Oh! To things quite unrelated to it, and it's hilarious.
Excuse me, sir. Could I trouble you for a donation to the clan of Daedra? Lord Daedra's run out of money for this week's rent. His grandma says this is the last straw. If he doesn't pay, he'll get thrown out and won't be able to upload videos anymore.
What? Who's Lord Daedryth?
It's Lord Daedryth. Get it right.
Who? What am I saying?
Well, it seems to me like you're a bit touched in the head, dear. How about I give you a partly sum and you get your head checked out?
Fantastic!
That said, it's also a standard abridged because it takes the comedy and it makes jokes that are funny about the characters because of the meme they have become, like Mega Man and explosions.
Secondly, what the hell is Mega Man doing?
I don't know, but it looks like a meme.
Do you want popcorn? Because I feel like popcorn would go well with this.
There is so much to do with this kind of humor that they had to change it up. It's not just, okay, standard formula, we're going to hype up the characters, because the characters are hard hyped up. So they just do it a little. Not as much as most shows. It's not a huge change. They're very similar, but they're just acting different. They're still just as crazy, but they're different. It's a lateral move, and sometimes better, sometimes just different. Both are funny, but it also gives you a way to express the humor in such that when you would normally have a joke that is meta, it's now meta through characters who are different, but still recognizable as Konosuba. The ending result is that we get humor that is just good. Because they can't rely on just scenery. They can't rely on the characters falling apart and that being funny. It's basically its own form of humor that they just use the show as a vehicle to get it across. And that is actually perfectly good. It still counts as abridged because it works on the basic premise of humor, parody, and taking from an anime. It doesn't have to be an anime, but it's very hard to do anything else because of how the lip flaps. On live action, it's really damn hard. Technically, you could do it with deepfakes, but it's just not worth it. The second criteria for how to judge this show is how it creates an individual situation. It's an aspect of humor, but it's one in particular. One entire joke. One running gag that began and grew out to almost insane proportions to the point where this could actually be a spin-off. I don't think they will, but it could be. I'm talking about the Australian FedEx guy.
Listen here, mate. I'll curb stomp your cock through a cheese grater if you don't open the damn door. It says here I have to deliver something called a forced orgasm towel. Alright, mate, what the hell? What? Let your slave cower before the power of restraint? Alright, what the fuck, mate?
That guy is freaking awesome. He steals the show. He was basically a random bit that they put in that it was just a random thing because, hey, we're going to put a FedEx truck inside, just do a bunch of talking over a picture of the house they live at. It's going to be silly and stupid. We're just going to go to town on this one. And then it was good. And it was funny. And it was insane. And it was creative. And it did something no one saw coming because it was so distinctly different from the show. Again, that's part of the humor. But this one did it better. It did it more. And it was by popular demand the most requested thing to include in later episodes, to the point where they actually gave him a character when they literally created him out of whole cloth because he had no purpose. He was a joke. And then he became the best part of so many scenes.
Open the door right now, mate. How am I supposed to explain to management that the mummification bondage pack was undeliverable? Well, now that you mention it, it's not that unbelievable. It's not like we deliver a lot of them, you know. I delivered one last week to a nice Sheila down the road. She was nice. She was only about 67, but, you know, we all have our tendencies, mate. But
what makes that truly respectable, though, is that they created a joke character for a joke purpose and a joke series based on an even bigger joke series, and fan demand made him better. They made him stick. They made him come back for multiple episodes. They found a character who they hadn't voiced yet and just said, hey, yeah, you're the FedEx guy now. Because they wanted to bring him in. Because the fans were demanding it.
Crikey, mate. You reckon it's okay?
It's fine. Just make sure nobody recognizes us.
Damn, son, you looking downright FedExy.
Ah, Christ, matey, keep it down. Can't have anyone knowing who I am now, can we?
Why? Are you doing something shady?
What? No. Nah, not at all. Bugger off.
What do you mean? What? No, mate. I caught you red-handed. You're totally doing something shady. What the hell happened to the other narrator?
Oh, yeah, I had him killed.
Because they created something so damn funny that every single bit about it was a rant, but it was a rant of humor that escalated and became crazier and just got better and funnier. I found it quite enjoyable. I'm sure that was a massive surprise to everyone. But it worked, and up until the very end of the show, he was there because they chose someone who, oddly enough, actually got his own spin-off manga. Yeah, I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but if it was, and Lord Daedryth, you happen to be watching this, if they ever come up with an anime for it, by any chance we consider doing a FedEx Man Abridged? Because, let's be honest, I know a lot of other people who would be very much okay with watching that. And that's where we get to the third criteria, something they did that very few abridged series ever reach. They came to a conclusion. Now, I don't just mean that they reached a point where it's like, okay, we're going to stop here, and or they just decided to pull a code and never end because they just kind of stopped. May continue, it might not. I'm hoping it is. I'm trying to believe that it is. I don't know. Still no comment will come back. No. This ended. It reached the end of its arc. It saw the end of the season. It used up its source material. And it decided, hey, let's actually end this with an actual finale episode that works on both an entertainment value level and as a parody of how it ended, because they literally killed the cast.
Wiz, you fucked up!
Sorry, bye.
So yeah, they killed the entire cast. This was something they did as part of the plotline in the Abridged. And it was a good choice because of how they handled it. It just worked out well because they set up a premise. Here's how it's going. And instead of leaving the hanging, we might get around to doing more. It's like, no, this is how it's going to end. We're going to end it here. We're going to write it to that point. And instead of leaving the audience hanging for another decade to see if that's going to happen, Codeman, damn you. We're going to go there. We're going to actually come to a conclusion that is both satisfying and humorous, and yet still gets across everything we wanted to do in all forms of humor, and was one of the most just downright hilarious episodes of the entire, quite long actually, season. And it was shocking, actually. I mean, it was hilarious too. That was a given because it was very good all the way through. But they brought in all the characters, they tied up all the plot lines, and they had actually created plot lines through humor. They brought in different characters who you only saw in the end of the episode, but they made them memorable where you kind of didn't expect that because they were only there just for the ending. And they might have not had lines in the normal show, but they suddenly did now. And it was great. But what made it cool, what made it amazing, what made it memorable is that this is one of the few Abridged series to have an ending. I can only think of a handful others that actually reach this point, because one of the things you've noticed in a lot of long-running Abridged series is either they're just going to keep running because their source material is huge. I'm looking at you, Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. Don't die. For the love of God, Lil Creepo, keep going, man. But that's not going to end anytime soon because there's more. And hell no, if he goes even further to the next seasons on top of all the future ones, he can go a long time with that. The same goes for Dragon Ball Z Abridged, which a lot of people thought it was going to end at season 3, finally with episode 60. No, it's going to season 4. It's just going to be another decade, probably. The only other show I can think of right now that actually has a conclusion off the top of my head is The Devil is a Part-Timer Abridged, and that was actually quite good, but it's one of very few. I can only think of 2 off the top of my head. There are others, probably, but it's so rare that to think of them, you actually have to rack your brain because the vast majority of them, they just either stop or they're on hiatus. And while I'm personally fine with hiatus because it means more possibilities, the fact that Konosuba Abridged, which could have justifiably kept going and reusing material and scenes from previous episodes that they just hadn't used, and made something even longer and funnier because they could do it, but then just not really have a way to end. They could have just ended it there because they were having issues with copyright, like every Abridged has. They could have done many things, but instead, they wrapped up with a satisfying conclusion. You don't see that because most shows never reach that point. It's just impressive they did it. Now, I still would hope that they might do a second season if it ever comes out, but I would doubt it because this ending was very final, as in, like I mentioned before, they killed off the cast. Yeah, that's how it ended. Now, I mean, sure, they can always pull some goddess BS considering, main character died literally at the beginning of the series and now he's there, so yeah, it'll work. But at least for this one, it is a complete show, and there's no plans for the future because they ended it as they wanted to on their terms. And it worked. That said, if they ever get around to making that FedEx guy anime, I know he has a name. No, he's the FedEx guy from here on out. That's just going to be a thing. That is the only thing he will ever be called. But I would definitely recommend this anime. Where it stands in terms of rank, I've actually put it very highly in my different Abridged reactions. In my top 10 list, it was in the list. And I would always recommend that if you have the chance to go and see this, I would recommend watching it because this is a very good Abridged series. They take a lot of liberties with the characters to do really meta jokes that would never work if you were doing a solid narrative. But for an Abridged that is a parody of a parody, they have so much leeway that as long as they can just make you laugh, it is perfectly acceptable in the setting they have created. And for that alone, I would recommend this show very highly. In terms of actual rating, I would call it
5 hours later.
A 7. I would call this a definite 7. A 7 dumb smiley faces. Yeah, let's go with that. I'm not really sure what that would be, but let's go with it. When they go crazy, it's usually about something that is very meta and very much relevant to the situation, but calling out something in it, which is usually what you do in a parody, but this one is doing it so damn explicitly. In case of one joke, literally telling the audience, breaking the fourth wall with a damn sledgehammer. They take the elephant in the room from the previous segment and they bash in the fourth wall with it.
Wait, I honestly, I feel like we're just dubbing the show now.
Of course not. We're abridging it. Duh.
No, this is definitely a dub. You can't abridge something that's already a parody.
Well, we already started, so we might as well finish. And I'm not going to do a half-assed job about it either. What happened?
I think he quit.
But I would definitely recommend this show. It's very solid, it's very good, and Lord Daedryth did a good job. And if we could ever maybe bug him to make that FedEx, I know I've said it multiple times, so I'm going to say it again. Let's see if we can get him to do the FedEx abridged. It's a thing. Seriously. They haven't made the anime yet to even abridge it, but when they do, we can bug him about it. We can beg him. I will beg him. So all the same, everyone, thanks for watching. Again, there is a link to the original series down below if you haven't seen it for some reason. Just go. Go do that now. You're in for a great ride. It's just worth watching. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Later. Thanks for watching, everyone. And for everyone who's supporting me on Patreon, thank you so very much. It does make it so much easier to get these videos out, along with a bunch of other new original series that I'm starting to work on. So again, to all the Patreons who are helping supporting this, thank you. And if you're interested in joining, there is a link on the screen. For everyone else, thanks for watching again. See you guys in the next one.